Hey, howdy, howdy! Woo, what a group of folks we got here today. And I know why a lot of these people are here. The same reason I'm here today. We want to see Steve Allen. This is the darndest thing I've ever seen. All week long, we've been discussing this thing. Steve Allen, by the way, is in town. They're having the International Jazz Festival tonight and tomorrow night. And this is a big event for the Tampa Bay area. I mean, in town with Lionel Hampton and Rosemary Clooney and Dave Brubeck and just tons of people. Everybody who's anybody in the field of jazz, of course, he's emceeing it. And you've been trying all week, or at least you say you've tried all week to get
Been trying.
Steve Allen on the show.
Yeah.
Well, what's the story here?
Take a look in the monitor.
In the monitor?
Yeah.
Oh. What have you arranged? Some kind of a... Whoa! Holy smoke! You got him on a satellite interview, huh? This is great. Well, folks, I knew Joe would come through. Hey, it is great to have you here, and of course...
It's great to be had, Jack. Thank you.
I know you are here for the International Jazz Festival, and this thing is going to be an incredible event for the Bay Area, I think.
Oh, yes, it's incredible. I don't believe it myself. But actually, I'm here in solitary confinement. I'm coming to you by satellite. And I'm wrong. I sat on a light. I think that's what happened here.
You know, this is the real crime. We've been trying to get you all week. I've been hammering Joe, our producer, and everything. And here you are in the Bay Area. And, I mean, we got like about 300 people out here who would love to see you. Where are you specifically anyway?
Well, you come on down the hall, and there's a man who will tell you where I am. I am coming in by satellite. I'm not kidding about that part. And I don't want to get cards of sympathy at being held in solitary confinement this long because I was, yes, come right down the hall.
Wait a minute, that picture looks familiar. Hold on
I was
a
permitted
here.
conjugal visits, so that took a lot of the
Wait a minute.
sting and the pain and the
Holy cow!
Yes.
Hey, Steve Allen!
It's holy cow.
Right here.
How you doing,
It is.
sir?
He's here, and we'll be back with him in just a moment. Don't go away on Harris Live. This is great. You're stuck in our green room. Well, folks, he is indeed here with us. Welcome, the most versatile man in entertainment history as far as I'm concerned, my idol, Mr. Steve Allen.
Hey. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You want to have a seat over here on our...
Okay. Right in here?
Well, stays right over here. This one.
All right.
Yeah. Just pop on over.
Thank you.
Boy, this is great. I tell you, we have been working on this all week, and we had a gospel singer named Steve Allen on earlier in the week, but it wasn't quite the same. You know?
I've heard about him, but I've never seen him.
But he has not done... He's working on gospel music. Eventually, maybe you go into gospel comedy or something like that. I don't know what else, and he'll try to catch up with you.
Those two fields are not mutually exclusive, I guess. We'll see how that turns out.
Well, you've proved that in the past. You know, this is... I get a little nervous when I've been around. I used to watch in the days of the Tonight Show, and you have created so many areas of comedy, been so innovative, and I think of one thing like you used to do the Answer Man thing.
Question Man, yes.
Or the Question Man. Yeah, it's been done again and again and again and again, and everybody's had some kind of variation of that. But one of the things I loved about the old Tonight Show was your interacting with the audience. When you used to go up to the piano and they would give you a note and somebody else would give you a note and you would put it together in a song, that had to be one of the bigger challenges of all time, even for a songwriter.
Well, if you can do it, it's not that difficult. If you can't, then it's impossible, I suppose. But there are many things I cannot do. I cannot wiggle my ears, but people who can say there's nothing to it. Some people have certain gifts.
I guess, you know, I've never thought about that. I can do the old ear thing, but nobody's ever asked me to be on a TV show and do it. It's incredible. How did the Tonight Show first evolve? Because up until then, there was nothing like that on the air.
That's true. It actually evolved, Jack, out of my radio experience. Before that, I had been working for CBS in Los Angeles, and they didn't know what I was to do, and nor did I, for that matter, so I just did whatever was convenient for me. One night, after I'd established the idea of interviewing celebrities, Doris Day didn't show up, and we were on the air live, so I just took a mic and went out in the audience and got bigger laughs out there than I had, than I'm getting today, come to think of it. So that stayed in the act, and in another instance, I was on a CBS radio show, and just after I'd introduced a young lady to sing a song, there was a terrible bang, bang clatter. It was so loud it was being heard on the air, so we had to stop her song. And I said to the ushers, would you guys please open the upstairs doors quickly and find out who's making the noise and tell them to knock it off.
This is on the air?
This is on the air live, yeah. So the two young guys in uniform ran open the doors, and there was an elderly gentleman, look who's calling people elderly. Yeah. There was an old guy out there with a cement mixer. He was laying sidewalk. and it was his machine that was making all this clatter. So I grabbed a mic and went out there, and I said, "Sir," it took me about 5 minutes to make him turn the machine off and pay attention to me. He didn't know who I was. I wasn't too sure myself at that time. And I said, "Sir, we're on the air." And he said, "I got to finish in 5 minutes." He was on union orders or something. So we got such laughs with that I realized I'd stumbled over something. So ever after that, and then as I got into television, I took advantage of anything offbeat that was happening literally in the environment and worked it into the show.
This is something that, of course, David Letterman does it now, and he learned the craft from you. I mean, everybody who's done it since, Carson did to a certain extent, but I think Letterman does it more than anybody. And this new show, Rosie O'Donnell, that they're saying is doing fairly well. I mean, the critics like the show and everything, and she's doing it. I mean, you pick up on what's happening around you, and you know, you surprise the director. I mean, and I love to do that kind of thing, except that, you know, sometimes I get upset. We got a guy standing over here, like, if I get up and ran over here in a hurry, see, he'd be upset because nobody's on the set.
Yes, well, it's a nice chair.
No, just nothing but a chair. But I mean, that's kind of meaningless. Or if I were to say, like Joe, to a producer, I went out and bought a camera so I could get a picture with him. Now, I didn't do this for Cindy Crawford or Mickey Rooney or any of those other folks, but I want to make sure I get a picture with Steve Allen. See, and we can kind of do that on this show because it's kind of like,
close?
Yeah, let's get in close like this.
All right.
Thank you, Joe. I want to make sure I got one. Don't lose the camera, Joe. But did you have a staff of writers back then to work with?
I did, but they didn't write that many sketches for me. They usually put me in a sometimes literally a dangerous physical predicament. They'd get me up on top of a flagpole or strap me to a car and drive it into a fence on fire, something like that. I mean, literally, they did that. They discovered that whenever I'm in danger, it's funnier to them. I was sometimes literally very scared, but the reality of my fear made the audience laugh. Audiences are very cruel.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Look at this one.
See, that's one thing that I never wanted to emulate. I've always asked Joe to do that kind of stuff. We call him our danger boy over here. He's a little younger. He can handle that kind of
Well, he looks a little dangerous to me, too. Hi,
yes, he is. That's why we
don't
call him
spend too
that.
much time behind my back if you don't know.
Who did you like the best after that, of all the night, the pretenders who came after you?
Well, I shall withhold comment. No, if I say, you know, Johnny was better than Jay or Jay was better than Dave, what have I done except make about 7 enemies? So
That's true.
I shall withhold comment, I repeat.
Have you ever thought about getting those old shows back again? Because they really haven't done anything that different since.
Yes, the show that I did in the early 60s is available. It's on videotape, fortunately. The original Tonight Show is not available.
The original, the first one ever?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole 4 years that I hosted the show, that doesn't exist anymore. We have a few dribs and drabs of tape and film. But the reason for that might be of interest to you. The man who was in charge of NBC's storage facility in New Jersey noticed that he was running short of shelf space. And his solution, you can see the painful news that's coming.
I know that.
His solution to the program was to destroy everything he had on the shelves to make room for new stuff. And I would have burned a few of those old shows myself, actually. But except for those, he was burning pure gold, and he was burning American history and world history, because he was burning newscasts. He had prime ministers and popes and kings and presidents and so forth, and great drama. He was literally destroying it all. Somebody finally smelled the smoke and fired him, or threw him into the fire, I don't know. But so that's why there's no longer my original Tonight Show. But the subsequent talk shows we do have on tape.
Yeah, and those are sure to be popping up soon because nostalgia is so big these days.
All we need is a little more common sense within the industry, and yes, it's available, and I vote yes, and now we have to get some syndicator to agree about that.
We're going to take a break and be back with our special guest, Steve Allen, who's in town for the International Jazz Festival. More in a moment. It's Steve Areno, as he was called, among other things, back in the old days when you used to work with Louis Nye and Don Knotts, and who was the other one?
Gabe Dell, Tom Poston, Bill Dana, great gang.
Some of the guys who went on to become big names in showbiz, I guess, got their start for the most part, or their most exposure back then.
Yes. I remember one day I walked in, I saw Don Knotts. He gave me a terrible start. It was just one of those things. But yeah, Don and all those guys, wonderfully funny group. I think the funniest gang ever in the history of TV.
Oh, absolutely. And that was a subsequent show to the Tonight Show. You know what, and again, it's hard to get everything in when we're talking about you, because you've written, I guess, what, about 50 books And
Well, the 47th and 48th will be published within a few weeks, yes.
what are they about?
They're about $29.95, actually. Yeah. But all seriousness aside, the next one to come out is called But Seriously, and that's real.
But seriously?
But Seriously, it's a collection of serious essays, articles, newspaper pieces, and so forth on various important issues. The second is called Wake Up to Murder. It is the sixth in a series of murder mysteries I've done for this particular publisher.
This is amazing that you write. I mean, you run the full gamut of genres from comedy to murder mysteries.
I'm a gamut runner, there's no doubt about that. I hold the record in gamut running, as a matter of fact. 406.
And you have written, I saw somewhere one time that you had written over 5,000 songs. Now, are they counting the ones you did on the show when you would do it note at a time, or are these published songs?
We should count those, I suppose. Yeah, I'm up to about 6,000 now. Yeah, I write almost every day.
When I was doing radio back in the 60s, I was mentioning this to you before we went on, but This Could Be the Start of Something is such a big show tune that I had it as a show opener back in the days of radio, MOR radio and everything. And
thank you.
You'd hear it everywhere. Everywhere you went, you'd hear this thing.
Yeah, it's what they call a standard, so it does get performed a lot.
And you were mentioning that in Vegas they had to tell people, don't do this the last 6 or 7 acts.
Yes, I think in the late 60s that was an actual word that got around town. So many acts came in with that as their opening number that finally the management said, it's a nice tune, but everybody's used it for the last 6 months, so throw it out of your show for a while.
Well, we were able to get a piano thanks to Tampa Music. Tampa Music got this thing for us. I notice here Jack thanked Tampa Music and Alpha Limo. I assume you came in a limo.
No, I came in a piano, actually.
Okay, I want to thank Alpha Limo for the piano.
Something like that.
Tampa Music for the limo. Can we mosey over here and do
yes,
something for us
I specialize in moseying, ambling, sidling.
If we can get you to plop down at this thing from the good folks at Tampa Music.
What can I do for you?
How about This Could Be the Start of Something? A little bit of that anyway. I love it. I love it. It feels like just like the old days of radio.
Yeah.
What do you do for inspiration? Do you sit around and think of something that comes to your head, or do you just bang around with chords on the piano until you write a song?
Sort of the latter. There's a strange mood, an indefinable mood, an attitude of mine that comes to me almost always at home. And I've learned that it's sensible to pay attention to that state of mind, and I move rather zombie-like to the piano. And at such moments, pretty songs come out. I cannot explain it at all.
What's your favorite of those you've written? You've written.
I don't really have one. With 6,000 songs, there are probably 114 I like better than some of the others, but no one favorite.
Name several of the 114.
Well, one I particularly like, you probably don't know it, was beautifully recorded by Margaret Whiting some years ago. I'll just play a little bit of it. It's called Spring in Maine.
We'll take a break and be back with Steve Allen and his limo in a moment. This is awesome. We had Ralph Loveday on yesterday talking about this. The people that are going to be here, Al Jarreau, who's one of my favorites, and Wynton Marsalis, just named one of the 25 most influential people in America.
Yes.
And all of the others, guys, I'm sure people you know, Rosemary Clooney, I mean, and Dave Brubeck, and on and on.
Giants.
Yeah, this, they're trying to put an International Jazz Hall of Fame into a permanent location, and they're looking around the Tampa Bay area, I understand, to try to put it here. So
good place for it.
We may be getting you back year after year after year to
be my pleasure
to MC these events. I like to watch AMC from time to time. I'm a channel surfer, and one of the movies that's been popping up with great regularity is the Benny Goodman story that you did, and with Donna Reed, who was one of my favorites too. being the musician that you are, did you do most of your own clarinet work, or?
No, I had to learn the instrument to do the movie, even though, of course, when you hear those Benny Goodman classics, you're listening to the giant Benny himself. But the reason was that on the long shots, it didn't matter. You can do it with fancy footwork, but on the close-ups, you have to have your fingers on the right hole. So I did learn to play the clarinet from that. And there's one scene in the picture where you do hear me. The music is always pre-recorded for all shows of that sort. It's the scene where Benny is 9 years old in short pants practicing the scales on his first instrument, and the great Benny Goodman was not able to make the sound that a beginner makes, but I was.
As a person learning the piano, I mean, learning the clarinet, going back again to some of the other accomplishments as a comedian, which do you prefer to be called? I mean, because people do refer to you.
I prefer to be called Steve. Actually, I'm just somebody who does 8 or 9 things. I don't care what people call me.
You could go, I mean, any way you want. Is there anything you wanted to do that you haven't done yet?
No, I only wanted to do 1 or 2 things, and the fact that the world has let me do about 26 of them still knocks me out. I have no complaints.
Oh, this is great. And, of course, you're going to be funny tonight, I guess, at the International Jazz Hall of Fame.
Not now, of course. Yeah, but any minute it's
going to
and tonight,
explode on it.
definitely. By tonight, I'll be so funny, I'll...
Is your wife, Jane, watching right now?
I have every confidence because I sent a man over to the hotel to wake her up. I mean to... See, that's being funny. No, she is watching. Hi, Jane.
Do you have a regimen that you go through during the day where you...
Yes, I get up every morning at the crack of dawn, I stuff up the crack and go right back to bed. That's how I work it most days. I know I take care of myself.
But, I mean, do you say, like, today I'm going to work on writing when I'm doing this many books, or am I going to do a
No, I
song?
say things like, I'm going to sit right down and write myself a letter. But I don't spend that much time talking to myself, Jack. How about y'all?
Well, we do. But, I mean, you know, does the mood strike you in the morning, or do you feel like, well, I've got a deadline, I got to get a book done by now, or I want to write a song, or anything?
I wish I had intelligent answers to these marvelous questions, but
I'm not really
this
pushing or
audience
anything.
is finally laughing at the serious stuff. That's you missed a lot of funny stuff 20 minutes ago. Where were you when I needed? No, I honestly do not understand creativity, my own or anyone else's, nor, why is my finger up in the air? Let me see if I can try that again. Nor, okay, it always happens, does any psychologist or philosopher in the world. Creativity is very mysterious. It has nothing to do with how long you practice to the instrument or the painting or the sculpture or whatever you do. Some people are just born with these freaky abilities.
I was saying to you when we were off the air a moment ago, I don't know why, I'm going to say it again because...
There's a lot of reasons we should be off the air.
because
Well, what were you saying?
Gary Owens, who used to be a hero of mine because he was a radio star back in Los Angeles, and I got a chance to talk to him one day, and we were talking about humor, and he says the greatest, and the person that I have emulated is Steve Allen because of the lines like I'm a gamut runner and I'm, things like that, which became his
Well,
hallmark.
that's nice to hear.
He stole it all from you. And made a lot of money doing that, I might add. We're going to have to come up with one tune to finish up with, and we'll do that in just a moment when we return with Steve Allen here for the International Jazz Festival. Back with Steve Allen, the man who's provided so much material for comedians and musicians and fun seekers everywhere. Have you got something new that you've been working on?
Well, I'm always writing new material. Would you like to hear a new song?
Oh, yes, indeed.
All right. This is called Could You Be the One? And if we don't have enough time for it, I'll be back next Tuesday.
Okay.